Welcome back everyone. In this video we see amazing game of Emil Schallopp. So without wasting time, let's move. This game was played in 1881 in Germany. In this game Zukertort play with white pieces and Emil Schallopp play with black pieces. So Johannes Zukertort starts with e4 and Emil Schallopp replies with c5 Sicilian defense. Knight c3 closed Sicilian defense. e6 knight f3 knight c6 d4 c takes d4 knight takes d4 knight f6 knight b5. So white's next move is knight d6 and check. And if black take this knight with his bishop, then queen takes bishop comes. You can see that. So black continue with bishop b4 and white continue with knight d6 and check. And in this case, if black take this knight, then queen takes bishop comes and black will face some problems. So black didn't capture this knight and continue with king e7. So now pressure is on knight. So white continue with bishop f4 and supports this knight e5, and now pressure is on bishop and the same time on knight. So white continue with knight f5 and check. So black move his king on f1, bishop d2 and free this knight. d6 and pressure is on knight. Knight g3, bishop e6, bishop d3, h5. So now black can't castle. You can see that. So black starts attack on king side and white castles king side. Knight g4, h3, queen h4. Black sacrifice his knight. But this is very dangerous to accept this sacrifice. So white accept the knight sacrifice. H takes knight, H takes g5. And now this H file is open. So direct threat is checkmate on h2. So white prevent this threat with rook e1 and create some space for white's king. In this position, pause the video and think, what is the next move of black? If you find the move, congrats. So black continue with knight d4 and cover this e2 square. So king can't escape. And after knight d4, white resigned here. Reason for resign is simple. Because queen h2 check comes and after moving king, black will sacrifice his queen on h1. And after knight takes queen, rook takes knight comes and checkmate. Because this e2 square is covered. So let's see practically. If white continue with rook e3, then queen h2 check, then king f1, and after queen h1, knight takes queen and rook takes knight is checkmate. You can see that. And in this position, if white continue with knight e2, then checkmate comes immediately. You can see that. Because after moving knight, this h1 square is free. So white can't move this knight. And if white continue with knight e2, because of cover this g1 square after moving king f1. But in this case, black continue with knight takes knight and check. And if white take this knight with any piece, then you can see that checkmate comes in few moves. Because black will sacrifice his queen. Then knight takes queen and the rook takes knight is checkmate. Because this e2 square is covered after taking this knight. So white can't capture this knight. And if white continue with king f1, then knight takes knight check and the king can't move to g1. Because after king g1, queen h1 comes and the checkmate. You can see that. And if white take this knight, then queen takes g3 comes and the next threat is rook h1. So if white continue with king e2, then queen takes g2 check and the king has only one option. king e3, and after king e3, bishop c5 and checkmate. And if white take this bishop, then rook h1 check and the king has only one option, king e2, then queen takes g2 check, and after king e3, rook h3 comes and the king has no moves. So white has to move his queen between a rook and the king. And after moving queen, rook takes queen comes and checkmate. So white resigned after knight d4 after some of these calculations. If you like the game, then please subscribe the channel for watch more these type of games.